I've been craving my favorite fully vegan, fully veggie gnocchi potato soup. It's literally just a bunch of vegetables with gnocchi. The low sodium veggie broth from Trader Joe's with coconut milk or coconut cream. I did coconut cream last time. Chopped up all the potatoes and then a bunch of carrots, celery, yellow onion. I might do more. I just want to see how much liquid I'm working with before I chop up too many veggies. The last thing I put in are the gnocchi because this is the best part. I have a ton of seasoning over here and I'm just getting a little bit of vegan butter and garlic going at the bottom of this soup pot. And I have a new loaf of sourdough, so that's mostly why I'm making soup, because the sourdough is gonna be so good. Ooh, that smells so good. I'm gonna add some yellow onion in with the garlic and the butter.
Oh my god, this looks incredible. The best meal prep for lunches, dinners this week. This is so good. It is a Sunday afternoon. What do you mean Goody Hair sent over this care package? How did it get here on Sunday afternoon? I just finished doing yoga out on my deck, which felt amazing in this February heat of 46 degrees and sunny. The windows are open. I'm having a deep Sunday reset. And now we have a PR unboxing too? This is huge. We gotta open it right now. Oh my gosh! This is a massive box. Look at this. Florals for spring, we delivered. The cutest little handwritten note. That is so sweet. Okay, let's see what's in here. No freaking way. Oh my gosh, I am so... These are the cutest ever. These little hair clips. I love the size too. I don't have any clips this size, but this is perfect for like half up, half down. Oh my god, I always need scrunchies. Mine get so stretched out so fast, and I love the little satin scrunchies. Oh, the cutest hairbrushes. Oh my god, there's so much stuff in here. Oh yes, these are usually my go-tos and I do lose them a lot, so this is such a nice restock. The prettiest little brush. Oh my god, they completely spoiled me. These are so pretty. Okay, florals for spring. Goody, you were right. This is the sweetest care package. Thank you so much, Goody. That just made my day. Good morning. Let's talk about the 11 books that I read in February. I'm always so surprised by how quickly February flies by because January always feels so incredibly long, and this year it really was. There were 5 weeks in January, and then for February it's like in a blink of an eye it's over, and I somehow managed to squeeze 11 books into this short month. I will say I want to talk about how to prevent getting into a reading slump, because if I didn't practice my own tips for this last month, I think I would have been in a reading slump. I think I would have read only 4 books instead of 11, but I'll go over that. You'll start to kind of see what I mean as we go through these books. Really interesting reading month though. I feel like a lot of these took me by surprise. I have at least 1 5-star read, a handful of nonfiction, an arc, a memoir, and some that I am so grateful I read that I would recommend to anybody regardless of your reading taste. As you saw from the little montage of the month, I feel like February was very grounding for me, as well as full of like self-discovery, and I just want to say thank you to the universe for bringing in the abundance, joy, and peace that my soul needed in this dark period of winter and my life. I fell in love again with skating, as you might have seen in my YouTube shorts, and the beginning of this video I'm sure I included clips. It feels silly to even mention because I am such a beginner, but it has been such a joy, and I'm so dedicated now. I really feel like I was divinely guided to the ice rink by my angels and guides being like, you need to go ice skating because it will help you in ways that you can't even understand yet, and it really has. So if you also love to skate and you can understand and relate to that feeling, you get me. I'm going to start documenting the journey on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts, so be sure to be following those if you like. I don't know, I'm doing like day 7 of learning how to skate and day 10 of learning how to skate, and it's so cool for me to even notice like the difference and how fast I'm improving. But off of the rink, off of the ice this last month, I did read read 11 books. I know we're here for the book content, so let's chat about these. Of course, all of these books and more will be linked down below, but here we go. If you saw my January reading wrap up, you know that I read It's Not Her by Mary Kubica and immediately fell in love with that style of thriller and Mary Kubica as an author, and I immediately knew I had to read Local Woman Missing. So this was the first read of February. I read this like as soon as I finished It's Not Her, and I think it's so hard to say because I rated It's Not Her for 4.75 stars, but I think I like this one more, but don't let that deter you from her newest release because it is just as good. But I rated this 5 stars. I loved it. What a wild ride. I could not put this down. I read this so quickly. The concept of like a child, and this is probably like dark and should not be romanticized now that I think about it. Like there are actual victims and survivors of this, but in thrillers, when someone that was held in captivity, especially like a missing child cold case, like emerges and survives, it is so gripping, and that is kind of where this plot starts. So the first chapter I was kind of like confused as to who the main character was and like what was going on. Yeah, if you were somehow like me and one of the few people that have not read Local Woman Missing yet, highly recommend it for thrillers. A 5-star thriller to me is one that like I simply cannot put down and want to read immediately, could have read in one sitting, and keeps me surprised all the way till the end. I did not guess well, I had a feeling that I knew one person was involved, and I was correct about that. What I absolutely love that Mary Kubica does in 2 of her books now that I've read 2 is she is very specific with her details. Every single detail matters in her books, and that is a good writer, because when thriller writers add random context to their plots and chapters and characters that you think mean something and then it gets completely dropped, it's pointless. She writes everything with intention. So if you are an active reader and you're catching the little things that she's telling us early on, it is going to help you so much. Everything is important, everything matters. I loved it. And I want to read Good Girl by her next because that's also upstairs on my TBR list. But other than that, I don't own any other Mary Kubica books, so give me your recs if you have any other ones by her that you know that I will love. I also read One by One by Frida McFadden this month. This is one of her self-published thrillers. I wonder if it's been traditionally published yet. This one follows the trope of like 6 people total, but only 1 will make it out alive. So you start with like 6 people going on a week in the woods cabin trip, and then things slowly start to happen and you're trying to figure out who's behind it. I did not see this one coming. I think it's one of her better books, to be honest. The overexposure when the sun comes out is crazy. Oh my gosh. It keeps you guessing for sure because I thought I had figured it out. I've read so many Frida books. You think that you know what's going on in that girl's brain, but she got me again. She really did, because there was one tiny part where I was like, I bet, and then yeah, but it's so it's just nice. I think when I feel like I am struggling to have a good reading momentum going, thrillers keep me into it, and then Frida books always keep me going because people refer to these as like popcorn thrillers. So if I ever feel like I am struggling to get into a good reading flow, a Frida book is on the list for sure. I think I also just wanted to catch up so much with reading content on my bookstagram because I do like book reviews and reading vlogs and whatnot over there, and I was pretty behind, so I didn't want to read any big popular fiction books that I knew would be more content because I want to be all caught up on all my socials. I don't think anyone really cares about that, which is why I never really mention it, but I'll read like filler books. Like I didn't do dedicated book review posts for these, but if I read like anticipated new releases like Rebecca Searle and other ones, like I would have, and it would have been like more content. Anyway, the arc that I read in February is also a thriller. I'd say this is probably more leaning on the horror element, and that is the arc The Caretaker by Marcus Clearwork. I never know how to say this man's last name. I really struggled with not DNFing this one, to be completely honest. It comes out March 2nd, so by the time this video's out, this book is out. I'm so curious what other people think of this book because I struggled with We Used to Live Here, which was his debut novel, but it kept me hooked enough to finish it and then just be frustrated by how it ended. This one I could not get into. I just didn't care for the plot. It wasn't as scary as the first one. I didn't care. It was so hard to make me care. I'm so curious if that's just me though, or how other people feel, because it's the first book in Atria's new imprint, 1201 Books, which is like their new horror imprint, and I just could not care less for this book, unfortunately. I don't know, with ARCs I always feel bad if I don't like it, but like that's part of receiving ARCs is giving an honest review. And maybe my polarizing review will encourage you to read it to see if you agree or disagree. So unfortunately, I do not think Marcus will be an auto-buy, auto-read author for me. I probably will not be reading any more books by his because the two that I've read just I didn't vibe with. The memoir that I read for February was Jamie Lynn Spears' Things I Should Have Said. I picked this one up because I read Brittany's in January and she actually references Jamie Lynn's memoir and was upset by some of the things that she put into her memoir. This lighting is... If you go onto Goodreads, this book received such backlash and it's full of 1-star reviews of people saying free Brittany. I think she was getting money. This book kind of felt like a PR blanket. Like, let's put this over the situation. I don't know, it just felt like a big PR move to make them all look better. Yeah, I can see how an older sister would be upset by a younger sister putting out this book and saying these words. Nothing was like super obvious, you know, but she definitely like downplayed what Brittany went through. It is her memoir and she is the youngest, so I think a lot of it has that youngest child syndrome, but it just felt like every time there was something about Brittany, Jamie Lynn would be like, but what about me? I was born into this. I didn't have a choice. I was thrown into the spotlight. I don't know. What's really funny, it's not funny at all, but what took me by complete surprise is I was a sobbing mess reading one of the final chapters in this book. I did not see it coming. I wasn't about to get my period or anything like that. It felt like she wrote that one chapter and then a ghostwriter wrote the rest of the book because that one chapter was about her daughter's near-death experience. I can't imagine reading that as a mother, but it felt like if I were a mother reading that, I cannot imagine how she felt. And it's something that I guess they never like told the media exactly what happened. So reading it in her book, it was just like, I can't imagine. The spark notes of it basically is her daughter was driving a Ford ATV, I believe, like an ATV four-wheeler, and basically, long story short, she's 8 years old and this flips into a pond and she's stuck buckled in to this ATV underneath the water for almost 8 minutes and they cannot get her out because she's in that. Her and her husband were like in the pond trying to get her out, couldn't get her out. The ambulance eventually showed up, got her out, and Jamie Lynn says that she thought she was gone. Like seeing them pull out her blue baby that was under the water for 8 minutes, like, oh my God. I'm like crying thinking about it now. And then in the hospital, they had to put her into a coma and they didn't even know if she was going to wake up. It's a miracle that she's okay and she's here. That one chapter I was a mess reading. I did get this thrifted though, because a lot of people on Goodreads were also saying do not buy this book, don't support the family, free Brittany. Find it at Goodwill, find it thrifting, read it if you'd like. I don't rate memoirs, but those are my thoughts on Jamie Lynn's. Now, here is where I had to make sure I wouldn't get into a reading slump, because if I didn't proactively do what I'm about to show you, those would have been just the 4 books that I read. But when I feel like I am not ready to start like a big fiction book or dedicate, like fully immerse into a book that I know I will love and I just like don't feel like it's time, my trick? Read books you can read in one sitting. Starting with Heartstopper. I finally picked up Heartstopper. Why was this the cutest thing ever, but also so unexpectedly sad? It's been a while since I've read a book that ends sort of on a cliffhanger too for a series. So it ends and you're like, oh my God, my heart goes out to him. This is so cute. I think I read this in half an hour. Like I didn't expect it to go that quickly, but just adorable. So I'm glad I finally read Heartstopper. You are never too old for children's books. Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. Coincidence or not that this found me at the start of the Year of the Fire Horse? This is the most beautiful little book I've ever seen. It has stunning artwork in here. Like, look at this horse. I felt so divinely connected to this. I want to try to play this on the piano too. There's like literal music, sheet music in here, but it's a beautiful journey about this little boy that comes across a mole, a fox, and a horse, and they all have bits of wisdom. But it kind of reminds me of Winnie the Pooh, but you can find wisdom on every single page. I really loved this. So if you ever come across this book, I highly recommend. This is going to be like a household staple book for me now. I cannot wait to put it in my living room. I incredibly value that book. Let's talk about the poetry books that I read. I read 3 works of poetry this last month. I read Homebody. This was gifted to me by sweet Katie, who gifted this to me at the beginning of the breakup season. I understand now why she gave me this book, because I found it so helpful and beautiful. I tabbed a couple of my favorite poems in here. I had to wait a little bit till I felt like I was ready to address and face the emotions that come with
shifts and transformations in your life. I mean, I even underlined and highlighted some work in here. Even though you might think that there are some simple poems in here, I think the meaning can be very, very crucial and complex, and I enjoyed it. So thank you, Katie, so much for sending over Homebody. And then Heather actually sent over these next two works of poetry. Radical, or When the World Lived Inside Us, is a beautiful collection of poems that connect plants, seedlings, and nature to motherhood and the womb and all of that. Like, the word radical is like this tiny, I believe it's the word for the seed inside of something, but the quote at the beginning too, at the end of my suffering there was a door. I think based on the amount of poems I've tabbed in here, this one was my favorite. I loved it. It's beautiful. She's such a talented writer. I loved the way that this was structured and organized, and I feel like I understood what a lot of the bad reviews I saw completely missed. Like, it's so deep. As like a whimsy nature girl, I got it. Like, I just understood this so well. It's like got this beautiful matte cover too, and God, it was just so well done. Highly recommend. And then I also read Haley Grace Save Me an Orange. I feel like my younger self would have loved this, like especially as a teenager, because this reads very teenage girl, adolescent, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, because like I just said, I think my teenage version of me would have been like, this is the best work of poetry. I think I might have aged out of it since, but even the dedication to anyone who thought the world would end at 16, this is what it feels like to feel like the world is going to end when you're 16. I still tabbed a couple of favorites of mine, but I think at age 30, it's harder for me to relate to everything that she's going through. I saw my younger self in this a lot. I don't write poetry, but I did enjoy all of those works. Speaking of works, I also read It Works, the famous little red book that makes your dreams come true. I got this on Christmas Eve at Barnes & Noble. I had no idea that this is an anonymous piece of work that was published in 1926, so over 100 years ago. Someone anonymously published an essay called It Works. And what's so cool is this is about manifestation at a time when like manifestation isn't what it is today. This was not lucky girl syndrome, but this basically was. It's written a century earlier, but like this person realized the magic of manifestation in the 20s and wrote about it, and people like did what he said and things came true. Like, I love that. If you know what you want, you can have it, and here's how. Fantastic. I've been working on like a self-healing, self-improvement, spiritual type of book each month. I do this in the morning after I write my morning pages for The Artist's Way. I'm on week 9 of that, by the way. This last month, after I do my morning pages, I read a chapter each day of Heal What Hurts. Maria Toso actually sent this copy over to me personally. It's very focused on the spiritual, almost like yoga, breath work side of it, but really understanding your triggers and where they come from. There's a lot of like meditations written out in here too. Each chapter has a prayer and a breathwork meditation to help you go through something. If there's an audio available of that, I think it would be so much more helpful. I can't like close my eyes and find my center, but also read the meditation. I would still recommend this book to people that might need it. And I'm glad that I read it. And those are the 11 books that I read in February. As you can tell, like if I didn't keep up with those smaller books that I could read in one sitting, I would have only read 4 books. I always read best when it's sunny and warm out because I'm outside reading in the sun. So as it warms up, I think I'm going to start to read more, and I'm very, very hopeful for the books that I'm going to read in March. I hope everyone had a wonderful February though. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what you read in February, and sending you all my love and best wishes for March.